Welcome back. In this video we're going to show you how to put together all the components of the bamboo that we learned in our last session, all those basic strokes, and work to put those together into a composition. Now remember, the style of Chinese ink painting is really about the harmony and balance between dark values and light values, harmony and balance between the positive shapes and the negative spaces, being the white paper, and how all of that gets put together to create either a pleasing symmetrical, asymmetrical balance, and how that all then together captures the soul or the essence of the subject being painted, rather than meticulously rendering from life something kind of like Western art. So now, knowing all those basic components, we're going to put together a bamboo composition. Now, of course, I'm going to be putting my own together. You're going to be using those components to create your own version of bamboo. I'm going to be using 3 brushes. One is the big number 17 goat hair brush that's kind of for the washes and for the stalk, a littler one to make a smaller bamboo, and then a horsehair bristle brush with a good snap to make the leaves. Things you're going to need your ink caddy. I'm going to use my straw here to pull out just a couple drops of ink, squeezing it gently to get a few drops of ink out. Then I'm going to use my big wash brush to get some of this, quote unquote dirty water, or just this kind of medium toned water that's sitting in the old cup here. I'm going to pull some of that onto my palette, and then I'm going to dry my brush off. You can see up there at the top where I'm kind of drying it, getting a lot of the ink out, so that when I'm painting here, I'm going to have kind of a nice medium tone of paint in my bristles. Then I'm going to take my brush and just use the tip here and put the black just on the tip. Make sure my bristles are ready to be dry here. And then I'm going to start with my bamboo. I, of course, have to move my ink out of the way. And then remember, as we discussed before, you're going to have 3 fingers on the brush, the tip of your finger on the tip of the brush to kind of hold it and keep it from sliding and having those bristles slide apart. And you're going to start at the bottom, press down, lift up ever so gently, finish the stroke, start the new one, lift up ever so gently, press down to finish, press down to start, lift up ever so gently to get the middle, and off the page. So there's my first bamboo. I'm going to set this brush aside now and get the smaller one to make my second bamboo. Just going to get some fresh water, get this inky water here, and dry my brush a bit, pull it back so there's a point at the end, and get some pure black on the tip, some pure black on the base, so we have a 3-dimensional one. And then again, follow the same procedure to make a smaller one, but I'm going to kind of curve that smaller one off to the side here. Press down. My brush is too wet, so I'm going to squish it out a little bit and redo a little bit of ink right on the tip, a little bit of ink on the back. Press down, lift up, press down, lift up ever so slightly, press down, lift up ever so slightly, and off the page. So I've got my 2 main stalks of bamboo. Notice the bigger one, the thicker one, is closer to the front, and the thinner one here is a little bit farther away. Now I'm going to paint my nodules. I'm going to get my horsehair brush and kind of get a nice even wash here. Make sure my bristles are dry. Get a little bit of dark just to make sure it's the right thing. Now this one I'm going to put at below eye level. Okay, this one I'm going to put at eye level. And I don't like how light the beginning of it was, so I'll just go back and there we go. Okay, and there's only 2 nodes on that one, so we're going to do this one over here. Alright, so there's my nodes. I'm going to do my leaves. Now, in the past, on the other demonstration, I showed you the branches and talked about the branches and talked about the leaves. But typically, a lot of Sumier artists do the leaves first and then move on to do the branches and put the branches in between. So I'm going to take a little time to do some leaves here. Now the leaves, remember we talked about some of the newer ones pointing kind of straight up, some of the older ones pointing kind of straight down. So here we go with a couple of the newer leaves. Notice I've got a kind of light tone of ink. I'm going to do some older ones hanging down over here. And now I'm going to do some older ones kind of right here in the front. And I'm kind of running out of ink, so I'm going to get a few more dribbles of ink here. Now remember, this India ink is very, very powerful and will very quickly stain things. So if you set your brush down, be careful where you're setting your brush down so it doesn't roll off the tabletop and roll onto your lap or something. All right, I'm going to do some more leaves, but I'm going to use a darker ink now, and I'm going to try to overlap some here. So you can kind of see how I'm putting a second group there. Okay, good. So I've got a couple different groups of leaves. Now I'm going to go back and get some of the branches. Okay, so there's some kind of branchy pieces going into the leaves, and I think I'll put a couple more leaves on here just to kind of finish off this one right here. Okay, now I'm going to go back and finish the last little bit here. I'm going to get my brush. I'm actually going to take all of the ink out of it. I'm going to use my finger and kind of squish it out. Then I'm going to pull these bristles apart so that they're kind of separated apart from each other. I'm going to use some of this very dark ink here. I'm actually going to grab some of the medium toned ink out of this dirty cup here. And take some of this dark pure ink and mix it in. And I'm just going to take the tips of my bristles, leaving it spread out kind of like a fan. I'm going to just take this to finish off the bottom here. I'm going to take some strokes from this part of the painting and kind of brush up. Kind of to make like a little grassy knoll. And I need a little bit more black ink. I just want to have some very pure black ink on there. Again, I want these bristles to be spread out. Okay, and then all right, so there's kind of the finished picture. Now as you clean up, make sure to screw this cap back onto your ink so that it's nice and solidly screwed on so it doesn't get messed up. Whoever's in charge of the palettes, make sure you rinse these with water and turn the water only halfway on so it doesn't spray all over. And when you're washing the brushes, use just a little bit of soap. Pump like one squirt of soap in your hand and then wash the brushes in there, and that'll help get the ink out. So this is our finished picture. As far as your name, make sure you put your name on the back once it's dry, very lightly in pencil so we don't see through it, and we'll put our stamp on it later after we've made our stamp. So that's how you finish your Sumier bamboo picture. Remember, you're not copying my picture. You are creating your own with your own artistic choice, and you're trying to capture the essence or the soul of bamboo through those basic brush strokes.